Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Saturday, February 16th, 2019, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. We're going to do a short report today, with it being the weekend, and kind of give everyone a break. We do have 1 day's worth of methane data that's new from CAMS, so I thought I'd show that and then go over earthquakes and just make it a short update today. So we're looking at Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Services website. We showed methane data from yesterday. Yesterday we showed methane data from Wednesday the 13th. And so I've got the Arctic view pulled up for starting on the 14th with surface level methane. And the reason we're focusing on the Arctic is because that's where that's coming out through the sea ice and where it's all happening here. So this is where we left off on Wednesday with the actual data. We were seeing a large release coming off the coast of Siberia here in the Kara Sea, large red and then the dark brown, which can be up to 10,000 parts per billion. We just don't know. And then the finish up of a release coming out of Russia, and we were seeing a release coming out of the Finland, Sweden, and Norway area, and this release coming out of the Chukchi Sea up through the sea ice. So that's where we left off, and also this large release in Canada that we can see from this Arctic view. So I already have the movie loaded up. It's a little bit jumpy the first time through, but we can see that this release is continuing all the way across the Arctic, past the North Pole, past going over to Svalbard, and it's quite incredible. And it moves into it's releasing from the Canadian islands, and then when it gets into the forecast period, it moves all the way down into Canada. It continues this wave of release. So it's almost like as it's being released from the ground, it triggers more release as it's moving. It's like a wave, an undulation, like a current somehow. So it's really interesting to see this happening at surface level. You wouldn't think it would be happening like this at surface level, but it is. And so we can see in the forecast period, I'm going to pause it here in a second. Okay, it goes through Monday into the forecast period. Now look, in Monday, look at this big red release over to the west of Norway here in the Atlantic Ocean. And here it's just finishing up, and these releases kind of finish up and then another one builds. And so we can see another one building here and releasing in Russia at the end of the forecast period. So we'll run it through this one more time. See, here's another big release out of Russia by the time we get to Monday. So I also have the global view pulled up and this movie uploaded for you. And as usual, it's a little bit jerky the first time through, but from this view we can see the methane gathering over the Arctic, or releasing from, and watch it come down into Canada, and we can see it. We saw this big buildup here in Europe See this? Remember that buildup? And then it's coming up through this North Sea between England and Norway. And then we've got, of course, China with releasing a lot, India, and out of the Indian Ocean, we've seen that as well. And out of the interior of South America, and the interior of parts of Africa, and the interior of North America, just depending on the humidity and the temperature and, different sources of methane, and whether it's from natural sources, from decomposing matter and microbes and stuff, or from man-made, or from industrial activity. It's a whole thing. So I'm going to pause that there, and we'll put this as our backdrop. Close that one. And then we're going to go over to earthquakes, and we'll get caught up on comments in the next couple of days. I just would like to make a short report, and I tend to get into a lot of discussion when I go over comments. So we've got a lot going on, even though it's the weekend, and we have fewer earthquakes showing up, but they're larger in magnitude. So here I have USGS from all magnitudes pulled up for the last 24 hours, and we're showing 179 on the map, and we can see some pretty big circles all the way around, and also in places that we normally don't see them, like over here in Morocco. And then we've got another one down here on the southern southeast part off of the coast of Madagascar. We're seeing another one in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, another big circle there. And the bigger the circle, the larger the magnitude. And we're seeing some bigger circles here in the United States and some bigger circles up in Alaska. So let's get going on this earthquake report. So I always start with the 2.5 magnitudes and higher, and those are the international ones. Okay, so the oldest ones that might be coming off the map soon are these here in the Dominican Republic, and this 2.5 in Koktovik, Alaska. So let's just start down here in the Dominican Republic, and we'll go back to all magnitudes for this area. Since we are able to see all magnitudes here, it's part of a U.S. territory, and anything U.S. related is they show all magnitudes. So we're seeing quite a few. We've got 23 here, and they're peppered around, and we've got a few more over here on the island of Puerto Rico, and nothing over here at Dominican Republic. We've got some over here in the British Virgin Islands. So I thought I'd just click them off and call them off, and we'll see where they are. 3.2, 100 kilometers deep. Some of these are pretty deep. 2.8, 108 kilometers deep. 3.3, 124 kilometers deep. 3.3, 2.9, 3.0, 60 kilometers deep. 3.2, 66 kilometers deep. 2.4, 2.1, 2.8, 2.9, 3.8. That's our biggest one. So you see they're getting higher in magnitude or larger in magnitude, and it was on the island, and we're seeing a swarm here actually when we zoom in. We'll look at that in a second. Let's finish calling these off. So we were at that 3.8. Now I lost my place on the list. 1.9, 3.0, 2.0, 1.7, 2.2, 2.2, 2.5, 1.9, 3.1, 2.3, and 2.7. So most of these were in the ocean, but let's look at this cluster here. There are 6 right here. They're calling them near Las Marias, Puerto Rico. And now the 3.8, which was the largest, is probably not big enough to cause any damage, but it would definitely be felt. That would shake enough so that you could feel it. So it's all in this same area. So we're going to be watching that area very closely in the near future. So now, while we're over here, remember we had 2 on this red line. A couple of days ago there was like a 6.2 and a 5.1 on this mid or northern Atlantic ridge. And remember the article from Hal Turner saying that the buoy out here to notify us of tsunamis is not working in this area. And so if there were a large earthquake in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, the reporting buoy for the east coast of the United States, they wouldn't get any warning because that buoy has been not working, not operable for 3 years now. So, you know, we're kind of screwed. So, you know, it's the way it is. So, that's why you have to be ready and have your spiritual house in order, because no one knows the day or the hour. And Jesus did say that in the end times there would be earthquakes in diverse places, and that's one of the signs of the end times, that there are earthquakes in places that you wouldn't even know of. And as things progress, another one of the signs of the end is a large earthquake that's felt all the way around the world, and that's right at the very end. So this is why I'm watching earthquakes and trying to give you these signs, because we want to know. And it doesn't matter so much about, you know, measuring methane and trying to debate, well, you know, what is it actually coming from? Is it coming from cows? Is it coming from termites? Is it coming from permafrost? You know, it's coming from a lot of different places, but, you know, we don't have to know all of the different details. All we need to know is we're in the quickening and we are in the end times. And so in order, and so I am warning people, we are in the end times. So to give the last few people a chance who might be on the fence about God and Jesus, so that they can get that tractor beam to Jesus and to God on them before it's too late. And that's my whole purpose and my whole mission here. So I just want to reiterate that. I don't want us to lose focus of that. So the first one was a 4.7. They're calling it near Santa Cruz das Flores, Portugal. That's the reporting station that it's nearest, but it's on this red line. And this took place last night at 9:56 p.m. And then the next one came in about 20 minutes later. It was a 5.3 in the same place, and it was a 5.3. It came in at 10:45 p.m. Pacific, and all of these times are Pacific time because that's my time zone, and it's easier for me to think in Pacific time. So there's that. So let's just follow these red lines around. Here's a place that we normally don't see earthquakes, and it's on a red line, and it's in Morocco, which is part of North Africa. It's the country of Morocco here on this northwest edge of Africa. And by the way, the Canary Islands are right over here, and they are volcanic islands that are very active. And the USGS, for whatever reason, doesn't report earthquakes from the Canary Islands. But we could easily have any of those volcanoes go off in the Canary Islands. And, oh, they're right here. These I think there's 7 islands. And all of these are volcanic. And any of those could go off and we'd be screwed. That would just be the end. It would just be the end. You have a big one over there, and you'd have the tidal wave coming all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. It would wipe out the whole eastern seaboard. Seriously. So, USGS reported this 4.3 magnitude near Thurs, Morocco. This one came in at 10:35, no, not 10, I'm sorry, 8:35 p.m. last night. That was 66 kilometers deep. And it looks like it was next to a road. That's probably not big enough to do damage, but you could feel it, and it's showing movement. Then coming on across, following the red lines, was this one off the coast of Greece, 4.2 near Lithuania, Greece, and this one came in yesterday at 5:57 p.m. It was right after I finished recording my report from last night, and that was in the ocean. So I'm just amazed at all of these that do happen in the ocean, and so don't do any more damage than they do. Then we've got one right in the smack dab of Mongolia, right here, of 4.2 near Zagstay, Mongolia. This one came in last night at 9:23 p.m. Looks like it's in the middle of nowhere, but you never know who might be living out there. And now coming on around, here's a 4.7 near Bengkulu, Indonesia. This one came in yesterday at 5:27 p.m., 35 kilometers deep. This is off the coast of Sumatra. Then coming on around, let's catch this one up here. It barely missed the island. This is part of the Philippines, at 4.3 near Sarangani, Philippines. This one happened at 1:09 p.m. today, 32 kilometers deep. Then coming on around, we've got a couple here on land at Papua New Guinea, in Papua New Guinea. The first one was this 5.2, and see the little wave? That's when the tsunami That's when the buoys are working. It has the little wave telling you whether or not there's a warning. They've got sensors in the buoys. This was near Abipura, Indonesia. It was a 5.2 that came in last night at 10:39 p.m., 26 kilometers deep. And then to check that, you click on that little wave and it goes to the tsunami center. And then you go down and find the earthquake. Let's see if we can find this. It's not even listed on here. The most recent one listed is this 4.1 that we'll see in Alaska that happened today. 4.1. The last one before that was from February 14th of 4.7. So this one, but while we're here, we can look and see if that 4.1 in Alaska, and it says there's no tsunami danger from this earthquake. So that's how you figure that out. No one showed me any of this. I figured it all out for myself. So, but you'd feel that, and that would be big enough to cause damage if that was in a populated area. I don't know if there's a town near there. They're saying it's 55 kilometers away from Abipura, so that's far enough away if there's nothing else around there. But, you know, it could have caused damage. We just don't know. And then we had a 4.7, 48 kilometers from Abipura at 3:01 this morning, 33 kilometers deep. And now, moving on around, this is part of the Solomon Islands, or Papua New Guinea still. This Solomon Islands, they move right on one to the next. This one was in the ocean at 4.7 near Panguna, Papua New Guinea. This one happened at 4:47 this morning, 35 kilometers deep. Now following our red line, that is all down there. So now let's move on up following the red line. This one is to the east. Oh, look, we've got two here. And this was, this is Taiwan. Yeah, this is Taiwan here. So it's a little bit northeast of Taiwan. But see, there's all these little islands, so there's stuff everywhere. There was a 4.8. It says 66 kilometers north-northwest of Harare, Japan. Here's Harare. That's where the reporting station is. This one came in at 1:06 this morning, 18 kilometers deep. And then less than an hour later, there was a 5.2, pretty much at the same place. It came in at 2:01 in the morning. And then when you see just a plain 10 kilometers deep, that's the USGS's default for the depth when they don't know what it is or they don't want to say. That's their default depth. So with that being in the ocean and far enough away from everything, it probably didn't cause any damage. Now moving on up, here was a 4.8 near Kurilsk, Russia. This one happened yesterday at 6:53 p.m., 35 kilometers deep, right on the red line there. Then moving on up, this is the Kamchatka. This is the peninsula coming down from Russia. This is part of Russia. We've got two right here near this red line where these plates meet. There was a 4.5 at 1:49 this afternoon, 35 kilometers deep, and a 4.2 at 4:20 this morning. Now let's do Hawaii while we're here, so we don't forget Hawaii. Can't forget Hawaii. We've got 5 here of all magnitudes. I'll just call them off. We've got a 1.9, 2.0, 1.8, 2.2, and 1.8. So the biggest one was this 2.2 up there near Honoka'a. So Hawaii is still showing activity as we expect. Now moving along over to off the coast of Mexico, we've got a 4.6 in the ocean near La Orilla, Mexico. This one came in at 1:29 this morning, right on that red line. Now coming on down into South America, here's one on land in Peru, a 4.3 near Ina, Peru, or Iena, I don't know how you say that. This one happened this afternoon at 3:10 p.m. Moving on down, we've got 2 more in South America. This one is, we've got 2. In Argentina. Yep. Okay, this one was a 4.3 near San Antonio de los Cobras that happened at 10:25 last night, 180 kilometers deep. And then a 4.3 near Londres, Argentina. This one happened at 2:44 this afternoon, pretty deep, 194 kilometers deep. So those are probably not big enough to do any damage, but they're definitely showing movement. Now moving on up into Alaska, let's move over to our 2.5 magnitude and higher. We'll see, we've got quite a few that are over 2.5 magnitude. So here's a 3.9 near Adak. And this one happened at 2:49 this morning. I'm not even seeing that. Okay. So here's the one near Adak. Here's a 3.6 near Cold Bay that happened at 3:09 this afternoon. Then coming on up here, we've got 2 near Kodiak, a 2.5 that happened at 5:35 yesterday afternoon. And then a 3.4 that happened yesterday at 8:13 p.m. So, like I'm saying, we're moving up in magnitude. There might be fewer earthquakes, but the magnitude is increasing. Here's a 3.5 near King Salmon. This one happened last night, almost at midnight, 11:52 p.m., 122 kilometers deep. Then a 2.6 near Seaward. Here's a 2.9 near California. And then here's 3.1, 4 kilometers east of Anchorage. This one came in at 2 o'clock this morning, so that's bigger, larger in magnitude than what we've been seeing. Here's a 2.5 near Big Lake. Now moving on up, here's a 2.7 near Cantwell. Then here was a 2.6 near Kobuk. And then we've got this 3 right up here. Got Kobuk off the map. We've got a 2.5, 2.5, and then the 4.0, and that's the largest one in Alaska that we've got here today. So right up there, and that's the one where we saw there's no tsunami warning. So all of those are 2.5 magnitude and higher, so that's definitely an uptick. That's 14 for Alaska, 2.5 and higher. Now let's look at all magnitudes and see how many they have up there today. They've got 67. So the rest of them are under 2.5 magnitude, but you can see them really lined up here. And this is where the volcano line comes down. There are lots of volcanoes, like 100 volcanoes, as part of Alaska. Look at this huge cluster in the Anchorage area. And so, now let's open this up a little bit. So in this viewing area right here are 52. And they're mainly ones, in the ones range, ones in mid to low 2s. So there's that. Now let's come on down to the United States and we'll finish this up. We're going to start in Texas. We've got 3, and if you remember that North American craton that I showed you, it came right down here through this western part of Texas, and so this is on the edge of the craton there. We had a 2.2. These are all near Pecos, Texas. This is near Pecos, and then a 2.6 near Pecos, and a 2.9 near Mentone. So so there's those. So they're getting up there in magnitude. I expect these magnitudes will be increasing, and we had in Utah today, we had this 3.3 near Fillmore, Utah. So that's a higher magnitude than we're used to seeing. This one came in at 2:05 this afternoon, 8 kilometers deep. Then here's one. They're calling it near Saratoga Springs, Utah, 1.6. Now we saw all these near Bluffdale yesterday. We saw that swarm, so I'm thinking that might be left over from that. But it looks like Bluffdale has calmed down now. So let's move on up to Yellowstone area. We've got a 3.1, 14 kilometers west of Old Faithful Geyser. This one came in at 1:22 this afternoon, so that's quite a bit higher magnitude than we've been seeing, and that was 8 kilometers deep. Moving on over into the Pacific Northwest, we've got this little tiny one, 0.8 near Sunny Slope. And then here's a 1.8 near Topinish. That's all there. And we can see, we're probably not going to see any blasts or explosions or anything because it's the weekend and the earthquake makers are not at work. And we'll see fewer earthquakes down here in southern Nevada because they're just not. Here's a 1.6. Here's a 1.8. They're not at work. The earthquake makers are taking off, and this is President's Day weekend. The United States will be honoring the presidents on President's Day on Monday as a holiday, national holiday. Now here's a 3.1, and like I said, I'm seeing today higher magnitude earthquakes than what we're used to seeing, and this is in Northern California. Now here's the Lassen Range. So this is not really part of the Lassen volcano range, but down here is Oroville, and remember Chico and Paradise, and this whole area was where they had that fire, and so this is near Quincy. Quincy gets a lot of earthquakes. So this is west of Quincy though. So, and it was a minus 1.2 kilometers depth. This came in today at 11:04 this morning. So with the minus depth, we know that that means the epicenter of the earthquake was up in the mountain. So that's usually means the magma has moved up into the chamber of maybe an old volcano and has moved things around and caused an earthquake. But that was a pretty good sized earthquake, and with it being high up like that, it's kind of concerning. So I thought we'd look at this one on Google Earth and see what it looks like. Since we have this tool right here at our fingertips to look at this. Okay, so that's where the earthquake was. It looks like there's this is now Quincy is in the mountains. Quincy's over here. These are mountains here. So it looks like well, that's right where it was. So I don't see anything around there. Of course, my eye is not skilled at picking things out like Dutch Senses is. I'm still learning how to pick things out. Here's a mill, Ebby's Stamp Mill. Up here, here's Belden, Feather River. The Feather River usually floods. Here's Highway 70. And a lot of times that Highway 70 does flood because it runs by the Feather River. And they've had incredible snows and rains up there. So let's just leave that. I'm not seeing anything there to write home about at the very moment, but I might learn more. So that's our largest earthquake in the region. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Okay, now coming down, let's do this eastern side of California first. Right here, well, we're not seeing. Let's see if there's anything at Mammoth. Nothing. It's totally silent at Mammoth Lakes and Mono Lake. That's kind of creepy. Normally we see something there. We're seeing 4 on the map here. 3 at Coso Junction, a 1.5, a 1.1, and a 1.2 at Coso Junction, and a 1.3 near Kernville down here. So we got 4 right there. Here's one that just came in. 2.0 near Grapevine. That one just came in. Here's a 2.1 near Tehachapi and a 1.9 near Tehachapi. Here's we saw that one at Kernville. Well, let's do Southern California while we're here. Let's zoom in on this. We are only seeing 20 down here. See, it makes a difference for it to be on a weekend. And there's just like one down here at Imperial. Remember that cluster that we saw down here yesterday? That was kind of flipping me out. So here's 1.9 near Lake Henshaw that just came in. Here's a 1.2. And here's the ones at Kauai, so we're showing 14 on the map here. So these are not very big. They're in the ones in under range. And this 2.0 at Grapevine is the biggest one so far. Now let's come up. This red line is the San Andreas Fault, so let's come up and see what we've got here. 1.1 near Parkfield. We've got, what have we got here? We've got 2 here. Here's a 2.2 and 1.9, both near Tres Pinos, near that red line. Coming on up. Got one right here in the San Luis Reservoir, 2.7 near Los Baños. This one happened at 2:25 this morning. A 1.6 near Gilroy. Here's one to the east of San Jose, a 1.6 near Seven Trees. Look at this cluster. Let's get this one next. 2.7 near Redwood Valley. This one happened at 1:26 this afternoon at a minus 0.6 kilometers depth. So that was up in the mountain or the hill or something. See, that's mountainous. And then the geysers, let's see how many we've got here. We've got 16 here today. And these are, the biggest one is this 2.0. And the rest of, oh, no, here's the 2.2. That's the biggest one, it looks like. And the rest are in the ones in under range. So, see if there's anything else in California. I don't think so. So let's back out and see if there's anything else that has come in. This 3.0, this just came in near Big Lake. This is in the Anchorage area. This came in at 507, and it's 515 now. 36 kilometers deep. So, like I said, they're increasing in magnitude. I expect that. Let's see if there's anything else. We got Peru, we got Cold Bay, we got Argentina. We got this Southwest Indian Ridge, this 4.9. This happened at 2:28 this afternoon. And I think that's a wrap. So I hope everyone has a safe weekend, whatever your plans are, with it being a holiday weekend. And I love you all very much. And until next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and goodbye.